They say, the camera never lies. But sometimes, what it captures is something no one is truly prepared to see. Tonight, we are diving deep into the shadows, into a world where reality bends, and where fear takes on a face of its own. These are not stories written to scare children before bed. These are real moments, caught on tape, evidence that something, or someone, still lingers among us. What you're about to hear are 5 terrifying cases of real-life ghosts caught on camera, unexplainable, undeniable, and unforgettable. Listen carefully, because by the end, you might not look at your phone, your home security feed, or even your own reflection the same way again. Let us begin. The first case comes from a quiet suburban neighborhood, the kind of place you'd never expect to be haunted. A man named Daniel had just moved into a modest home with his wife and young daughter. Life seemed normal enough: work, dinner, bedtime routines. But Daniel noticed something odd. Their daughter, only 4 years old, often spoke to someone in her room when no one was there. At first, they thought it was an imaginary friend, something harmless. Until one night, Daniel decided to set up a camera in her room, curious to see what she was doing after bedtime. The footage he captured would haunt him forever. It started innocent. His daughter sat on the bed, giggling, as though someone were telling her jokes. Her little eyes darted to the corner of the room, following something invisible. But then, her laughter suddenly stopped. Her expression changed from joy to confusion, then to fear. She whispered, "No, I don't want to go." And then, clear as day, the camera microphone picked up a faint voice. A voice that wasn't Daniel's, wasn't his wife's, and certainly wasn't his daughter's. A deep, guttural whisper that said, "Come with me." Daniel froze when he replayed the footage. The voice was unmistakable, but what made his blood turn cold wasn't just the voice, it was what happened next. In the corner of the frame, barely visible in the dim night vision glow, a shadow began to form. At first, it looked like a trick of the light, a dark patch, stretching along the wall. But then it grew, expanding, twisting, until it took the shape of a figure. Tall, broad, humanoid, with limbs that didn't quite move like they should. His daughter turned her head, staring directly at it, and then, she screamed. Daniel rushed into the room the moment he heard her cry. On the camera, you can see him burst through the door, flipping on the light. The figure was gone. His daughter sobbed into his arms, shaking, pointing at the corner. "The man was here," she cried. "He wanted me to go with him." For days, Daniel couldn't sleep. He kept reviewing the footage, hoping he had imagined it. But the more he played it back, the clearer it became. There was something there, something real, something dark. He uploaded the clip to a private online forum for paranormal investigators, desperate for answers. The responses were chilling. Some said it was a classic case of a shadow person, entities believed to lurk in the spaces between life and death. Others insisted it was demonic, pointing to the deep growling voice and the attempt to lure the child away. A few skeptics dismissed it as digital interference or dust caught in the lens. But Daniel knew better. He was there. He heard his daughters scream. He saw her fear. And late at night, when the house was silent, he swore he could still hear that same whisper, echoing in the walls. Weeks passed, but the activity escalated. Doors began slamming shut on their own. Objects moved across tables, and every night, at exactly 3:15 a.m., the baby monitor would crackle with static, followed by that same voice saying the same words, "Come with me." Daniel's wife begged him to leave the house, but Daniel resisted. He wanted proof. He needed the world to see what they were living with. So he set up more cameras, in the hallway, the living room, even the basement. And what he caught was beyond terrifying. One night, the living room camera recorded their daughter sleepwalking. She walked slowly down the hall, her eyes glazed, whispering softly. She wasn't awake. Something was pulling her. She stopped at the front door, her tiny hand reaching for the handle, as though she were about to walk outside. But then, the voice returned, loud this time, almost shouting, "Come with me." And then, something happened that no one can explain. The lock on the door slid open by itself. Daniel woke to the sound of the alarm and ran to grab her. Just before she stepped outside, he slammed the door shut, heart racing. When he replayed the footage, he saw the door lock, physically turning, the bolt sliding back, with no one touching it. His daughter, still asleep, had whispered, "I'm coming." This was no longer just a haunting. This was an attempted abduction, not by a person, but by something else. Something that wanted his child. Daniel moved his family out within the week. They never looked back, but the footage remains, circulating the internet, debated by skeptics and believers alike. And while many argue whether it's real, one thing is certain: if you listen closely, you can still hear that voice, that chilling invitation. 3 simple words: "Come with me." And that was only the beginning. The night is never silent. Even when you think it is, there's always something breathing with you. Tonight, I bring you 5 real encounters, caught not by imagination, but by the cold, unblinking eye of the camera. But remember this: once you've seen them, you can't unsee them. Case 1. Case 1. The abandoned hospital. A group of urban explorers step into an abandoned hospital in Detroit. Rust flakes fall from the ceiling like dead snow. The paint peels from the walls like rotting skin. Their camera light cuts through the long corridor, empty, silent, or so they think. Behind the flicker of a broken surgical lamp, a figure shifts. White, transparent, almost human. The camera zooms, and for a fraction of a second you see it. A face, pale and hollow-eyed, standing in the doorway. The explorers freeze. "Did you see that?" one whispers. But when they turn the corner, the doorway is empty. The footage remains. A ghost, trapped forever on film. Case 2. The hotel room camera in Mexico. A couple checks into a budget hotel, unaware of the room's bloody past. At 2:47 a.m., the security camera captures movement. A shadow passes across the wall, but no one is there. Then, the sheets begin to slide off the bed. The man jerks awake, swearing under his breath. He grabs the remote, thinking it's a prank. But the shadow returns this time, crawling across the ceiling like a spider. The woman screams. The footage cuts out. When staff checked the room the next day, they found scratches across the walls, and the couple, they never came back to collect their belongings. Case 3. The child in the mirror. Some hauntings don't happen in the dark, but in the reflection. A young mother records her baby playing in front of a mirror. The child giggles, waving at her own reflection. But as the mother pans the camera, something impossible happens. The reflection doesn't follow. The mirrored child keeps staring at the camera, eyes black, mouth curling into a smile the real baby never makes. The mother drops the phone, screaming, as the footage continues to record. Later, investigators confirm the reflection lingered for 2 full seconds after the baby was pulled away. Case for the graveyard stream in 2019. A YouTuber has walked through an old cemetery for views. He laughs, joking about ghosts, taunting the dead. But the comments section quickly floods with panic. "Look behind you." He brushes it off, until the stream glitches. The screen distorts, and standing behind him, a woman in a black veil. He doesn't notice, not until the veil slowly lifts, revealing a mouth stretched open wider than humanly possible. The chat explodes with warnings. When he finally turns, the camera drops. The live stream ends. The last thing viewers hear is the sound of breathing, but it isn't his. Case 5. The elevator ghost in South Korea. A security camera inside an elevator records a young woman returning home late at night. She presses her floor button, waits. The doors shut. She begins to fidget, looking nervous. Then, her eyes dart to the corner of the elevator. she's not alone. At first, the camera shows nothing, but as the doors close, a translucent hand presses against the glass from the inside. Her scream echoes, but when the doors open, again she's gone. The elevator is empty, except for her dropped phone, still recording. Case 3 begins with something so disturbingly ordinary that it almost feels staged. A family dinner, bright lights, laughter echoing from the kitchen. You can hear the faint clinking of cutlery against plates. A warm, comforting scene. But behind that normalcy, something rotten was waiting, and the camera would capture it in ways no one could ever explain. The recording starts with a mother setting a bowl of salad on the table, her children giggling as their father adjusts the tripod to capture a family video for their relatives overseas. Everything looks perfectly staged for memory keeping, but then, about 17 seconds into the footage, the laughter dies. A tall, shadowy figure can be seen standing in the corner of the dining room, perfectly still, its body, impossibly thin, stretching up almost to the ceiling. The children don't seem to notice. The parents don't react. But the camera sees it all. The figure doesn't move. It doesn't shift. It doesn't breathe. Just a void where a human shape should be. Pause, lowering tone. Pause, lowering tone, and then the sound cuts out. No clinking of plates, no laughter, just a low, guttural hum vibrating beneath the silence, so deep you almost feel it in your chest rather than hear it in your ears. The mother tilts her head as if sensing something wrong. She looks directly at the lens, directly at us, and for a split second, her face isn't hers anymore. Her eyes sink deep, her jaw unhinges too wide, and her skin darkens to a shade of gray. Then, like a skipped frame, she's normal again, but the figure in the corner, gone. Pause, whisper tone. What makes this case worse is not what the video shows, but what it doesn't show. The family submitted this footage online years later, claiming they had no memory of this night. In fact, they said this video was the only surviving recording in their house, because weeks later, their home burned to the ground under mysterious circumstances. Investigators found no cause for the fire, no gas leaks, no electrical faults, just blackened walls and silence. But the camera, the one camera that captured the shadow in the dining room, survived, untouched, as if something wanted the evidence preserved. Now here's the part that'll make your stomach twist. Researchers who've analyzed this footage claim to hear whispers embedded in the static when the sound drops out. Slow, deliberate words spoken in Latin. When reversed, it translates roughly to, "We eat with you. We wait for you." Pause, drag the silence, so I'll ask you tonight, if you sit down for dinner with your family, will you notice who's really sitting at the table with you? Or will you pretend not to look into the corner?